Hi, welcome to the channel today. Today we're going to do a quick overnight camp and sort of first impressions of the Bach Heads Up Pro Bivvy. Now, it comes in two colours. So it does come in a subtler green, but that was more expensive. So I went for the spruce yellow because it was like 50 quid cheaper. Now, it is an expensive bivvy. Regular watchers of the channel will know I like my bargains, I like cheap gear. This is not a cheap piece of gear. The RRP is £480 and I paid £297 in the sale, which is the best price I've ever seen it. I've been watching these for quite a while because I thought this could finally be a bivvy which I really got on with, because it has a proper hoop at the end, it's got a decent vent, and it's got a zip to access sideways that also goes along the top. So it should be easy to get in and out of. So you can see the vent working to circulate air into the bivvy and lift up the foot box. Whether that will stay lifted when you're actually inside the bivvy remains to be seen. But because we're going to do overnight camp in it, we're going to obviously be able to put in the sleep mat, sleeping bag and all my gear and stuff and just see how livable it is. First impressions, it does look quite sizable, and the material feels different to any material I've used in the past. I mean, obviously it's got a 10,000mm high-shack head on the top and the bottom, and normally for that kind of rating you've got really quite thick, heavy materials, and obviously this is heavier than the non-pro version, but it doesn't feel heavy. The material doesn't feel, it feels quite light and malleable, and it is going to be a good test night in terms of whether there's much condensation, because I can feel all my gear outside now is starting to get a bit damp. There's a lot of moisture in the air. It's been just an awful summer. It's late August now as well, so the temperature is going to be dropping, so it should be a really heavy dew tonight. It's only a very slight breeze. We're at about 371 meters up here, so it should be a nice little test for it. So the bivvy does come in two different sizes. It comes in a regular and large. This is the regular, so I'll obviously put the specs of the size up there, but it weighs 805 grams, and you can see it's not the smallest pack size in the world. Includes its pole and 5 pegs. But obviously this is the 4-season version. They do a non-pro version which is just rated for 3-season use, which is much lighter and presumably would pack down smaller as well as being cheaper. But it doesn't feature this kind of electro-spun fibre, which this bivvy makes a lot of. So obviously you can see we're out for a camp in it tonight, so I'm hoping everything is actually included in the bag. I've not even taken out the bag and checked it yet. So yes, a little bag of pegs, thankfully, because that was the one thing I was worried about, what if the pegs weren't in it. And these are just your standard little lightweight pegs, and they do come with the Bach branding as well, so makes them stand out from any of those stuff. And you've got one single aluminium pole. And you can see that is pre-bent and it's very light, but it doesn't appear to be branded in any way, just a standard aluminium pole. So in terms of foot box, it's not structured in any way, so material is just going to sag onto your feet, but it's quite a lot of height to it, so when you get breeze going through it, you'll see it pick up quite nicely. And whether you want to use a down sleeping bag, if there's much moisture it can be getting inside, I don't know. But for me, one of the standout features of this tent is the fact it's got proper ventilation at the hoop end. It's not got a clamshell design which you've got to crawl in and crawl out of. It has actually got a decent sized vent. And the vent is apparently snowproof because this is designed as a 4-season bivvy, the pro version. Its biggest selling point is obviously heavier and probably bigger pack size, but it's supposed to be suitable for 4-season conditions. So the bivvy only comes with 5 pegs, but there's actually 7 peg out points because you can peg out either side of the pole to give it some extra strength and structure in blowy conditions. So I will add another couple of pegs to the set. But it's simple to put in. The pole just goes into one side and then goes into a pole sleeve. So it's very straightforward to do and very, very quick to set up. And the side where the pole goes in, you can see it clips into a big plastic sheath, and again you can peg that out and you can also change the tension. So I've not quite got the tension right there because it's looking a little bit odd, but I think that one needs to come out a bit, so I need to make some adjustments there. So you can see the zip is going to be waterproof. You can see it's taped right the way across, and the top of the zip protected by quite a substantial storm flap. So one of the biggest selling points for me, and the reason why I've hunted for one of these for quite a while at any kind of reasonable price, so to get it for below 300 quid I'm pretty happy with, even though that's still an awful lot of money for a bivvy, because you can get a lot of tents for 300 quid of all sorts of different sizes and weights. And at 805 grams, it's not particularly light. The pack size is not particularly small. It's not much lighter and smaller than my Nordis Telemark 2, which is obviously dual layer, massive tent in comparison. But this does offer something completely different in terms of what its uses are. And the biggest selling point for me, the ventilation, the hoop, but the side entry. You don't often get those combined. So let's have a look at how that works. So it does roll away and the zip goes right the way down the other side. Then you have got this mesh layer. So if you're expecting a dry night and you want plenty of ventilation, you can just roll this out of the way and toggle it off, and you've got a very airy bivvy because you've got the ventilation from the vent as well as plenty of very fine mesh material. So with both the zips undone, you have got masses of space to get in and out in a nice civilized way. But again, I don't think I've quite got the tension in right from the bivvy. It's a little bit skew width, but I'll have a look at that and just see if I can repeg it a bit. But before it gets too dark, let's just get our stuff inside and see how much space we're left with. In terms of space, plenty of room for all my gear, and that's not fouling the vent at all. And there's plenty of space down the side of the bivvy, so you could move the sleep mat to either side and put stuff down the side as well. I've actually put my backpack just down there, the little lump is. But you can obviously move the whole sleep mat down further as well. There's plenty of room to move it right to the bottom if you wanted to, but I'm trying to give my feet a bit of breathing room down there. So I think you could actually quite easily put the boots inside the tent as well, just again down the side, out the way, and then you have got a bivvy that's completely sort of weatherproof for you and all your gear. Don't need to leave anything outside whatsoever. So that's the sleep mat moved all the way to the bottom, so there's plenty of room there. So you can see if you're wearing boots or trainers and stuff, you could easily put them at the bottom of the bivvy, but obviously I'd recommend just put them down the side just beneath the zip there, because you can obviously get them on and off then when you're getting in and out of the bivvy. So first impressions, yeah, bivvy does exactly what it says on the tin in terms of space, ease of pitching and ease of access to getting in and out and store your gear and stuff. So really pleased with the concept so far, but obviously I know a lot more in the morning about how it actually feels to camp in and just how breathable this material is. So it does feel like there's possibly a bit of rain in the air now. The forecasts recently have been just completely random, so they've given days that are glorious have been terrible and days that are terrible have been pretty good. So who knows, there's certainly a lot of moisture in the air, so it should be a really good test. I don't know, depending on how warm I am, how much zip I'm going to have up. Obviously the benefit with this kind of bivvy is you can zip it up completely because you've definitely got a nice safety mesh there, so you're not going to suffocate. But yeah, I'm going to just chill out now and we'll catch up in the morning with a bit of an update about how it's performed. Well, first impressions, really positive. Material hasn't had any condensation inside whatsoever, and I don't know what time it was at night, but I was getting cold, so I zipped it up completely. So the outer completely sealed up, but there's so much ventilation from the single vent that the tent, or the bivvy, just felt really airy, so it was getting lifted up above my legs. And yeah, really impressed, because I've been in breezy conditions in other bivvies and almost instantly the condensation was building up, even with the mesh doors open and stuff. So really impressed. Enough space to sleep comfortably,
I kind of ended up using my stuff as a kind of pillow as well. But yeah, I didn't feel at all constrained. Just a really, really good night's sleep. Weather's not great. But no, really, really impressed with the Bivvy so far. Obviously, you need to use it in some different conditions and stuff, but got my boots in absolutely fine as well. Yeah, so far, first impressions, really, really positive.
In terms of materials, I've got the little fact sheet here from the Bivvy. So the main fabric, which is this lovely spruce yellow material, is a 20D recycled nylon electro-spun air permeable with a 10,000mm hydraulic head coating. And the floor fabric, which is this lovely grey material, which actually feels thinner than the outer material, weirdly, which is opposite to what it normally is. That's a 40D nylon ripstop TPU laminated 10,000mm, so it is actually thicker in terms of denier, but it feels like, I don't know, it's just strange. And then the vent fabric is the same 20D nylon ripstop with monofilament mesh. And then the bug net is a 15D nylon no-seam mesh. And in terms of size, the regular is 220 centimetres long, 80 centimetres at the widest point, 50 centimetres high at the highest point, which is right there, and 55 centimetres wide at the foot, and it's 40 centimetres high at the foot. And I found overnight that the air was blowing through, so it did feel more like a tent in terms of it was lifted off my body, so I didn't have any issues with any kind of dampness at the bottom or anything like that, so really did perform really well. And the wind now is slightly sideways, but yeah, a really solid little bit of kit. And the good thing about having this at the end means the pole doesn't collapse when you get in and out, it still maintains its structure. So really nice bit of design, and it just seems weird to me that other companies don't design bivvies in this way. Just why wouldn't you? Why do you always have to have the clamshell opening? Why don't you have a hoop like this, gear, some kind of vent, and then a nice zip to enter? I don't get it. It seems to me like such an obvious thing to do. So if you did want to go for the large size, you get 240 centimetres length, you get to 20 centimetres length, 90 centimetres as widest point, that's 10 centimetres more than you get with the regular, and the highest point is 5 centimetres taller, so 55 rather than 50 centimetres, and the width of the foot end is 65 rather than 55 centimetres, and the height of the foot is 45 rather than 40 centimetres. So you just get an extra bit of space right the way through the bivvy. So I'm sort of 5'11", absolutely plenty of space in here for me, but if you were taller than that, you have got the option of the large one, so it's slightly heavy, but it's actually the same price as well, so you get more material for your money. First impressions, really impressed with the bivvy, just exactly what I was hoping for in terms of the design, the size, everything like that. Pack size is a little on the large size, but you are getting a slightly bigger bivvy with more structure and more features than your average bivvy. And if you're using a simpler bivvy with a tarp, then maybe by the time you've taken account of the tarp, trekking poles or poles of some description, then you start to add weight and complexity. Whereas this is a simple one bag solution, you don't need anything else, as I demonstrated last night. You just pitch it, get all your gear inside, job done. So yeah, really, really impressed with it. So obviously I need to take it out in some rain, and I need to take it out in the 4 seasons. So even though it's a pretty grim, cold and grey morning, we'll count this as a summer season camp. So we'll take it out again in the autumn, and then we'll take it out in the winter for some snow, because this is a 4 season rated bivvy. So yeah, if you want to see more of this bivvy in future, if you've got any questions about it or want anything that I've not covered for me to show, this is something I'm probably going to keep for the long term, because I do like the idea of a bivvy, and this is the best one I've used so far. Then yeah, subscribe to the channel and follow me on different adventures with this bit of kit, and anything else you want me to cover that I've touched on this video, I probably will do at some point anyway. But yes, a huge thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.